So, in last week's episode, I made kind of a little jab at companies, like this little sarcastic spiel I was doing at the end. And I think a lot of people took it as this very harsh and critical thing. I was trying to just stab companies like Ubisoft and EA right in the face about game manuals, and I really wasn't. I was just making kind of this sarcastic, outgoing remark about how I kind of wish game manuals were still around or were at least more prominent in physical releases of games. People took that a little too seriously. So I'm here to kind of talk about that this week. And I'm also doing this to advertise that I did have a video out last week. A lot of people, I guess, didn't get it in their sub boxes. I know it's kind of a problem going on right now. So I'm just shamelessly advertising that, hey, I did do a video last week, so I like money. So, video game manuals are pretty much all but gone, for the most part, in the retail side of things. Now, this is a topic that I want to be very objective about. I want to look at this from both kind of an ethos, emotional standpoint, and I want to look at this from an objective standpoint as best as I humanly can, because I am a human and I do carry those things called emotions. So I'm gonna probably get maybe teary-eyed during this. So overall, the game manual stayed pretty much a prominent feature up until about the mid-2000s, and it was a core part of the overall gaming experience. If you played games back in the day, I'm sure that you can remember coming home or riding the bus home or riding the car home, or maybe you went to a friend's house after you bought a game or something like that, and you could not wait to get your hands on that game. And the box art and the manual were two things that really kind of eased that tension and eased that pain, that horrid waiting that you had to do before you could get home and slide that cartridge or that disc into your respective game system. It built anticipation before you played a game, and if you really were just interested in lore, how to play the game, just cool concept art overall, you could look at the instruction manual. It was definitely an integral part of gaming back in the day. I, for one, just loved gawking at the art and the lore inside of these video game manuals because it was something that allowed me to pass the time. It was something that let me continuously enjoy the game that I was currently playing, and it built upon my love and anticipation to play the game. A few of my own personal examples were looking at the instruction booklets for the original Legend of Zelda, looking at Ocarina of Time, looking at the Super Mario 64 instruction manual. All of these did a really good job expanding upon the universe that it built inside of the game. They did a very good job with the controls, and overall it was fun to look at. Now I gotta transition that to today, and I gotta be more objective about it. And with today's technology, we don't really need these anymore. Now, as we touched on last week, budgets for AAA games are getting massive. Companies are constantly looking for ways to cut costs in the development of games. You know a good way to do that? Cut the gaming manual out, because you're saving a lot of time with transporting of materials, you're saving printing, you're saving paper. There's a ton of reasons why they went after that thing to get rid of, because it's just not necessary. You're kind of lucky to get like a tiny 3 or 4 page instruction manual that has legal information on it inside of every game you purchase, but I mean, is that really that big of a deal anymore? Now, some companies are insisting that they're doing this for environmentally friendly reasons, but come on, don't be fooled. I mean, that could be a small reason why they're doing it, but they're mainly doing it to cut costs and stuff their pockets more full of dough. But again, I can't really blame them for that. I mean, seriously, do you think EA is caring that much about ditching fossil fuels and conserving water? No. I do, however, have a fun little quote that I like to read from you guys from Ubisoft, because it's about their discontinuation of video game manuals back in 2010. Listen to this. Eco-friendly initiatives are important to the global community, and introducing in-game digital manuals on Xbox 360 and PS3 is just the latest example of Ubisoft's ongoing commitment to being a more environmentally conscious company. I'm not really trying to come off as a guy who goes out and kills trees and trashes the earth. I'm just being realistic here. As I was saying, it's not something that's necessarily a need nowadays because of today's technology. The limitations of past systems are mainly the reason why we got video game manuals. They were an easy way to get around the limitations of past systems because, you know, the NES and the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, they could tell deep enough stories, but they still had those limitations. They couldn't stuff a ton of information on there. And I'm mainly talking more the Atari, the NES, that kind of thing. Those got manuals mainly because they wanted to build upon the lore, they wanted to build the stories, show you the artwork, show you all the concepts, because, you know, an 8-bit sprite of Link doesn't exactly look like that. And then this concept and idea just kind of grew up with gaming, and it was just kind of a known fact that, oh, you're supposed to include a gaming manual inside of every physical copy of your game. But because of the fact that it really built upon the worlds and expanded those limitations, we got these really deep and well put together instruction booklets that people think should still exist nowadays. Because look at a lot of games nowadays. Games have tutorials. Games have really well put together art. We don't have to kind of imagine what these sprites look like anymore. We know what Batman from Batman Arkham City looks like. We don't need something that looks better than that. I mean, I'm fine with getting something that looks more detailed, but there's not much room for imagination there. That's what I'm saying. We don't necessarily need an instruction booklet to tell us how to play the game. We don't really need something to tell us what the backstory of this game is, because we get it inside of the game. And then companies still do include digital versions of gaming manuals inside, you know, pretty much every single AAA game. So if you need to look at that, you can refer to that. I mean, I don't, because they don't really look that appealing to the eye, in my opinion, design-wise, but it's a nice gesture. The only thing that sucks about that is it doesn't really build upon the collecting aspect of gaming, and that's what sucks about that. Because there are tons of people out there, I mean, believe it or not, that just like to collect gaming manuals. There are people out there who, you know, the physical copy of the game is not complete until it has the case, disc, and the gaming manual. And you also got to think, things like concept art, things like hints and backstory, you're going to get more of that inside of collector's editions of games, which is kind of a double-edged sword because we kind of used to get that for free, and now it's, you know, stripped out and sold in something else. I mean, if you want that, you can pay for it. You know, I don't necessarily need that, but whatever. Let's have some fun comparing gaming manuals, shall we? Here's the one for Super Mario Sunshine, back in, you know, what, 2002? I think that's right. I totally do fact-checking. This is roughly, you know, what it looked like. Really, really high-quality printouts. Really nice, thick paper. Good ink. Had fun expanding upon the backstory, like I've already stated a billion times in this video. So that's that. This is from Super Mario 3D World in 2013. None of that's in English, by the way. At this point, what is even the purpose of printing this out? I mean, seriously. There's just not many logical or objective or neutral reasons for video game manuals to exist anymore because they're just not needed. It's an outdated concept. It's something that, I mean, yeah, it's nice, and I miss that. Like, I mean, emotionally, I am tied to, you know, old video game manuals, but I have to be, you know, honest. We don't need them, and, you know, that's why when you get something like this, you get excited, because, you know, I, for one, I had a blast looking at the old stats and backstory of characters inside the game that didn't get expanded upon. You know, I mean, look at this. You know, I wouldn't know all this about Mole Knight. See, it's fun. But for real though, I'm just happy I've never seen the manual for this shit. Oh god, no.